Well, welcome. Today we're going to talk about a project that's very substantial, but that deals with, I want to say, one of the pillars that we all grew up with in Milford, and there's going to be some heated debate. Anytime you spend large amounts of money, it always does bring heated debate. So we want to bring you both sides. We want to discuss the alternatives. But before I ramble on, let's start with introductions.
Peter Filosa, Pool Manager.
Joe Arcudi, Parks Commissioner.
Mike Brashani, Park Director.
Paul Pellegrini, Park Commissioner.
Now, the Milford Pool, Fino Pool, what else do we call it?
No, those you covered both names. Those are both the
To
names.
me, it's the Milford Pool or
Milford
Fino.
Pool, Town Pool. It's
Town
been called.
Pool.
Yes, yes.
Peter, tell me about the Town Pool.
I'll give you some background. We've been there over 60 years. Was originally, if you can remember back that far, it originally was built out into Milford Pond, which makes it unique. There is only one other pool in the state that is that, and that's the Rosemary Pool down in Newton. Originally, the bottom was sand, and after some being open for approximately 4 to 5 years, the pool was decided that we should put in a cement bottom and filter it. Because at the time, we were just adding chlorine to the water, and it was basically pond water. Most of the influx of the pond. Filtration went in approximately around 1960, and since then we've been operating with a filtered pool, so I'm bringing it up to date right now. The situation is with the pool right now is that the life expectancy as it stands, as the structure stands right now, is very close to the end. So the alternatives are, basically there are three things. You renovate, you rebuild using the structure just there, or you get out of the pool business. My feeling is because it's such a fabric and part of Milford, and not only it's part of Fino Field, which has been there as long as the pool. The park department has gone ahead and put a bike trail down there. So I believe the place is a total recreation area. We do have another pool in town, the state pool, but the state pool was put there by the state for neighboring communities. Even out-of-state people use the state pool. The town pool, Milford pool, whatever you want to call it, that was always a piece of Milford, and it still is a piece of Milford. So we're at a crossroads. In the next couple to 3 years, we need to make some kind of decisions. We need to either decide we're going to go forward and rebuild it, or we're going to close it down, and we will no longer have that piece of Milford, as part of Milford. It'll be gone. And if you've been down there, for the people that I know, and there's a lot of people in Milford that have been there, it is a unique area. It's one of the few pools in the state that you have grass, that you have trees. It's not just a mass of concrete. It's also unique for the fact that you have Milford Pond sitting right behind it. That makes it unique. Like I said, there's only one other pool that's like that. That's the Rosemary Pool in Newton, and that happens to have a lake behind it also.
See, I don't think of it that way. When I think of what makes it unique is it starts out at 6 inches and then gradually goes up. And it's a very wide area. So, if you have now my grandson, I can't wait. Next year I get to take him down there in the pool. I don't know that I would take him to a KC pool or whatever, because it doesn't start at 6 inches.
Actually, all the new pools that are being built now in the state, they're all gradual entry now. And one of the reasons you've gone to gradual entry is because you have to meet handicap requirements. And it's easier to do it with gradual entry than to put in ramps and railings, because that just adds other expenses to what you have to do. You have to section off areas of the pool just to allow people to get in. So if you go to gradual entry, then the people in the handicap situation can just walk in at any point. The water is going to go from 6 inches. In a new pool, it's going to go to 0. It's just going to be like a beach. So you'll just be a gradual entry, and the total depth of a new pool would be approximately, the deepest point would be 5 feet. That's all you need. And nobody builds them any deeper anymore because you don't want to do, you're not into diving. It's not that type of facility. So,
Guys, you've been around Milford. If I was to say, do we need the Fino pool, what would you say?
Yes.
How much, have you used the Fino pool?
I have not used it recently. When my kids were growing up, I went down there.
And when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, that's where I learned to swim. That's where I took swimming lessons.
Let's face
I
it.
ended up teaching. I worked for Peter when I was in high school. I was a lifeguard, taught swimming lessons there, and it was always family oriented, and it was a good place to go. It still is a good place to go.
And you know, it's funny because, and I'll apologize because this is terribly sexist, but I remember we were a man when you could swim across that deep part. We never knew how deep it was. I think it was infinitely deep because my little legs you couldn't stand up.
it's true.
But all the memories flood back when you look at that pool. And the question is it still relevant today?
I think so. You get on there, I'm there every day, and people love to get on there. It's great to see the people get off their bikes, ride them over, jump in the pool, hang out in the grove, have lunch, swim, back on their bikes, off from there. So
See, and I think that pool was ahead of its time. You know, because again, you say the trend today is to go toward, maybe not 6 inches, but it's flat, but the gradual entry. We had it 60 years ago.
It was way ahead of its
well,
time.
the gradual entry serves as more segments because you get infants, toddlers, maybe some older people, and then as you get up, kids will just want to swim. So instead of having a 5-6 foot pool, you can serve different segments of population.
Gives you that, it does,
Yeah.
it gives you that beach feel, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people from Milford, they go down to Little Milford, right, down at Dennis, down at Mayflower Beach. And your kids are there, and what do? They play when the tide goes out, they play in the tidal pools, right? The tide comes in, you can walk in. Well, this is Milford's Mayflower Beach, so to speak, where you have that gradual.
And the
entry.
other thing is, I mean, I grew up in the Heights, not hundreds of yards away from Casey.
Casey Pool.
We still took our bikes and went down the Milford pool. Casey pool, I don't know, it feels sterile to me. Nothing against it, but it feels like a cookie cutter state pool.
It is, right? It's a regular MDC pool, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is. It is cookie cutter. That's how they built them. I mean,
And they've never had a tree. I mean, when I had, you know, family over or little kids, there was something kind of cool about taking a picnic basket down to Fino, sit under the trees, do whatever you wanted. It felt more Milford, more family.
We used to play Little League Baseball at Rodolado
Right.
and walk over to the pool after the games, sure.
So what do you say when people say, well, we already have one pool? Why do we need two?
I say we have 2 pools. Yes, we do. Actually, we have 3 pools. We have an indoor pool.
Well, we
which
have
is
the
unique-
indoor, yeah.
Which is unique to our community. I mean, there are not many communities who even have 3 pools. Very, very unique. And to have 2 outdoor ones, it's definitely unique. But I think you're comparing 2 different things. The pools are not the same. You know, the state pool is what it is. It serves a purpose. But again, I will go back to the town of Milford, Fino pool, whatever you want to call it. It's just really part of Milford. It's as much a part of Milford as the town hall, as the armory, as our school buildings that we've rehabbed. It's part of Milford. Yes, are we at a crossroads? Yes, I will admit, it's going to cost some substantial amount of money to do something there. It's not, you can't do a Band-Aid. We're not at the point where you could say, well, let's spend $100,000 and we can go 10 more years. We are not at that point. We are going to have to spend some kind of substantial amount of money based on what kind of designs you put forward. And then, but the thing about it is, we have never really spent any money there. We're looking at a structure based on the original cost based on putting in the filtration and the concrete, and what we have spent, and I'm not talking about operating costs, just part of the facility, we have not hit the $100,000 mark
But Peter,
for
now,
60 years.
when you say it's reaching its end of life, you know, to somebody who doesn't know anything, I look at a slab of concrete and I say, what's wrong with a slab of concrete? How can it get old?
Well, back in the day, when they would build pools like that, which they don't do anymore, the pool was poured in sections, so that you have seams in the pool where they poured slabs of concrete. The seams have deteriorated. The only way to really correct it is to tear out the bottom and redo the whole bottom of the pool, which is
Can't
significant.
just crazy glue in between?
We've done that.
No, well, we do. Actually, we've been doing that
Yeah.
for the last 15 years, but now the seams are beyond repair. So it's
And
not
again,
something.
Help me understand, when you say beyond repair,
Well, structurally, in order to repair the seams right now, what you have to do is, you have a seam. What you'd have to do is cut on each side of the seam. So now you make 3 seams, because you
Okay.
have to pour back. So now you just create the problem later on.
is it
just becomes-
deteriorating in between? Is
Yes.
that what the problem
They
is?
just- The concrete is just deteriorating.
Once water
Yeah.
gets in there.
Part of the problem is, the other thing is that people don't need to understand is, when the pool was built back then, today you would not build a pool like that. We have no way to keep the pool basically dry in the winter. Okay? We get influx of water from the pond, because we're built out into the pond.
The pressure.
What that does is,
So the pond just seeps through the concrete?
right to the bottom. Now, what you have also then is, what happens is, once the water is in there, you have a thaw and a freeze cycle all winter long.
Well,
And
that'll kill you, 'cause
That
that'll-
deters, that's what actually moves, and the slabs move. The slabs move in the winter. So,
But
one
why
of the-
can't I put this new technology called a sump pump? If the water comes in, can't I just pump it out?
yeah, well, we do that at the beginning of the season in order to paint it.
Okay.
But if you've ever come down right now, and we use 2 huge sump pumps, there are certain parts of the pool that we cannot paint anymore, because we cannot keep the water out.
That much water is
Oh, there's a lot of
permeating.
Well, that's also based on how much, when we had the drought, we had very little water coming in. But this year,
Because the level's down.
the level of the water, so it's all hydrostatic pressure underneath the slabs. We've had many, many people come, and look at it. The consigli construction companies, I've had them come over and look at it. The problem is that in order to put new concrete back in there, you have to be able to keep it dry, which means you would have to go and find a way to get down below, keep the level of the lake below the concrete, and it's really almost an impossible task.
Then, okay, and again, I apologize for being a little slow. If you can't do it, then how would you do a new pool?
What you would do is the best idea, in having many people, talk to many people and have them come, what I would be looking at, or what I think the town should look at, would be building a pool within a pool. So you leave that pool there. Basically, that pool is too big anyway. Over the years, nobody builds a pool that size anymore. There's only one like it in the state, in Duxbury, that's as big as ours. Everything is built smaller, so what you would do is you would restructure a pool, basically making a rectangle within the pool that's there. So you leave the concrete, and you build walls and gradual entry. You build a new back wall. You put a new floor in. The new floor, and plus you do have to meet new codes today. First of all, handicap codes. The other thing is, if you have a public facility, your pool must be dry in the winter. So you either have to be able to cover it or keep it dry. So what you would do in construction is you would change the level of that pool so that you do not get that influx of the pond water anymore.
But now you're saying that the concrete base,
Yep,
you can't keep the water from seeping through.
no.
So building on top of it,
That's not a problem, because you put the proper piping and drainage system so you can drain right out. As the water would come in, it would just go right out, which we can't do now.
Mike Dean, town engineer Mike Dean's been very helpful
Yeah.
to us. He's had, we've met with a few people out there, and a company named Bogman Hendry out of Boston basically came up with that concept. It does need some more engineering and design work, but they've done that before. It seems like the best concept to keep the water out and to keep the structure. They have to dig everything up. But there's a lot of engineering, there's a lot of testing. You have to figure out what you have now before you can do anything. But what Peter says is exactly what was recommended to us.
Would we be better off moving the pool away from the
Well, that's another
pond?
option too. But again, your studies and your feasibility study would tell you that. Best case, and I think people agree, would be pool within a pool.
Pool within a pool.
And that's,
How much smaller is the pool within a pool?
If you're familiar with town pool, it's more like there are two corners, and then you have a middle. So what you would do is keep the middle, eliminate both corners. Now, one of the ideas that the
So it's
gentleman...
not that much
So
smaller.
it'd still be a good.
Oh, it'll
good
still be
size.
good size.
Still be a
Yeah, that's
good
what I'm
size.
saying.
The other thing that you gain by doing a pool within a pool is you could have lap swimming, because now you're a rectangle, which we don't, you could swim laps.
But that's, I mean, Casey
You'll
Pool
gain-
to me was always really set up much better for swim club and,
Yep.
you know, it felt like if you're into.
But you gain all, with the design that, as again, not finalized, but if you had, the gentleman that I spoke to, he was the most, and he's done them, so it's most concrete plan that I have seen. The other thing is, by going rectangular, you have the ability to take both corners and do something else with them. One of the concepts that the gentleman mentioned was one corner making a splash pad for real little kids, and if you're
Oh, a
familiar
little
with...
kiddie pool.
yeah, well,
The splash pads today, is the water shoots out of all these structures, so there really is no,
Oh, there's no pool. It's
there's
just
no pool.
Little fountain.
They're
little
playing in
fountains that the
little-
kids play.
Yeah,
Cold,
and-
like
and
showers.
we would have we would have the ability to do that in one corner. The other corner of the pool, you could develop for more, you could put seating, you could do many things there. So that seems to be the best idea right now. We did have another gentleman that came down, spent some time with us, talked about putting a liner in the pool. A material that looks like a typical liner in a backyard pool, except much thicker. The only problem with that is it's the guaranteed lifespan is only 10 years. Approximate cost would be around $1 million.
$1 million, that's $100 grand a year.
and there's a lot of
Yes.
variables too
Yes.
with the pressure and
Yeah.
other engineering
The problem
concerns.
I wouldn't understand is, you're building a house on a swamp, right?
Very
If you
unique.
haven't eliminated, and that's why I worry about cement on top, if you haven't eliminated the permeate, aren't you setting up for problems? Because the liner is just going to deteriorate.
Yes, the liner would be, that's why the liner is really not a,
That would be
great
considered a
concept.
renovation,
that'd be considered a renovation,
a Band-Aid.
$1 million Band-Aid.
$1 million Band-Aid.
That's why we're looking
So,
to fix it.
in my opinion,
a big pool.
you're at a crossroads of, you're either doing a new pool or you're not in the pool business anymore, as far as the town of Milford goes. That's the way I look at it. And, you know, I've been there since 1963, so I have a little bit of history.
How many people use the pool?
This year, we had approximately 6,200, so we averaged over 100 people a day.
It wasn't a real good summer either.
Well, but 6,000 people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they pay a lot of money to get in, don't they?
They pay relatively nothing to get in.
A whole dollar, right?
$1 for children, $2 for residents, and $3 for non.
But, I mean, you
We're
know,
a very generous community in that
well,
aspect.
but Peter, I mean, you think about it.
But there is tax money there too.
Well, but
So-
we've been lucky. A lot of people in Milford have done well. But there's a lot of people who are, I won't say struggling, but they don't have enormous amounts of disposable cash. I mean, you think about the fireworks every year, you know, and couldn't argue that you could take that $18,000 and put it in the school and do other things, but
Correct.
not everybody can do $400, because that's what it's going to cost you to go to Boston and stay in Boston. That's a lot of money. And even if you could, I mean, we were lucky, we had a little extra money, so we went into Boston once. Didn't feel the same. You know, I'm not getting yelled at by my wife because Keith Gattazzi and John Accavelli slid me a hot dog from the Lions booth. You know, and I'm not walking around and seeing all my neighbors. So, you know, there's certain things you say, you know, it's kind of nice that a family could go down there for $5 or $10, whatever, and enjoy a whole day. I don't know where else you could do that.
You don't have to sit in traffic going
We
over
take,
the
and
bridge.
plus, yeah, exactly. And we take care of a lot of other, you know, we take care of, I mean, the youth center comes all summer long. Their camp comes all summer long. The Milford Community Youth Program, they come during the summer. We have special needs group from Medway who comes all summer long. You know, we service a lot of people, you know, and for relatively inexpensive. I mean, I realize that there's, you know, it's expensive. It does cost a lot of money. I mean, one of the things I think that people always, you hear a lot when we talk about doing something with the pool, everybody says, well, it's only a 9-week season. Well, if you live in New England, there's not anything outdoors as far as pools go that isn't a 9-week season. We just happen to live where the summer is only 9 to 10 weeks long. I mean, and so that to me is not really an argument. That's, everybody is in the same position.
But 6,000 Milfordians.
We should qualify that. It's not 6,000, that would be about total. We do get a lot of out-of-towners use our pool, and they love it.
Okay.
But
But 6,000
again, if you did the
people.
renovation, you would change your fees, not
Why?
punishing fees.
Why?
Well, it only because you would be offering more. If you did the renovation the way you were doing it, you would be offering more.
Help me understand that, because any way you explain it, this costs us money.
Absolutely.
You're not going to break even. I don't care if you get 10,000 people.
Oh, no.
You're never going to break even on this. So this is like the bike path. Nobody could ever tell me we'll break even on the bike path.
Or the library.
Or the library, you know, or the way we did Stacy. I mean, as a community, we made a
Oh,
decision.
the Armory, same thing.
The Armory,
Yeah,
it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper to knock it down, put up a big, ugly glass building. But something about Milford pink granite, and I mean, we do. I mean, as you know, when your budget comes, every year you have too much money and not enough to spend it on. We do
Paul, I think you should
squeeze,
comment.
you know, we squeeze every department so that when certain things come up, like the fireworks, and we can say, this Santa Parade, this is Milford. It's something we want as part of our community. So, you know, I don't know that I necessarily agree with dramatically increase. Now,
Oh, no, I didn't
if
say
you
that.
went from $1 to $2, you could say it's a huge jump.
That's my point. You would change the fees because you are offering a brand-new facility. And it's, I think people would expect, they would expect the fees to go up. Now, we also do right now, I mean, anybody who shows up at the gate that doesn't have money or, you know,
Yeah,
we don't
a
turn
family
it-
that says, I don't have $3.
we don't question them. But we turn nobody away
Right.
because it's a public pool and they're the public, and that's the way I feel
Well,
about
but,
it. I mean,
you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. And, you know, the argument that, well, foreigners use this pool, those people from Hopedale and all, you know, all those foreigners come over. You know, it's kind of like our special needs program. If the worst thing that happens is we benefit kids from another town by taking care of our own, I guess I don't feel too bad about that. You know, I wouldn't do this because people from other towns come here.
no.
But this is a benefit for us. And if other town people benefit too, I guess I don't feel bad.
So be it.
Because chances are, they're gonna stop and they're gonna eat, they're gonna get gas, they're gonna help our stores
Absolutely.
anyway.
Absolutely.
So, our option is to stay in the pool business for 3 years.
Yeah, we could handle 3 years if we were looking for, well, either way, we could handle a couple to 3 years. If we were going out of the business, we could last 3 more years. If we're looking forward to a major renovation, we could last 3
But that's
years.
what I mean, realistically, we're saying we have to decide if the concept,
That's right. That's where
just like we did with Stacy, we knew we needed school.
absolutely.
We had to decide if we were going to put more money because we built a building inside a building. Would have been cheaper just to knock it down and start from scratch. But we decided as a community that was part of Milford. It's what we grew up with, you know. How many of us sat on the wall, you know, as kids? You were big guys then. You got to sit on the wall. Can you quantitate that?
Well, I think that's why we're exploring the three options, like Peter said. Get out of the pool business, renovate, short-term solution, or fix it for real. And that's what the
But
population
renovate,
is.
Michael, you're talking about
That's the liner, yeah.
100-ish thousand a year.
Yeah.
You're just budgeting in.
Yeah, but we looked at, that's the rent.
No, it's
yeah,
legitimate. You
yeah,
got to look at it.
Yeah,
But I guess I got a problem with budgeting in 100,000 a year for bubble gum and Band-Aids. The second thing is, okay, now when you say new pool, talking 2.5 million?
But 3 years out, I would think you'd probably be between 3 and 4 million.
Okay, so $3 to $4 million.
a feasibility study would include construction estimates.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not talking $1 million if a Band-Aid cost $1 million.
Right.
So
And I don't
you
think we're
really are
talking-
talking,
Yeah,
I mean, almost as
a lot of
much
money.
as the youth center.
Yeah.
Not quite, because that's $6 million, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you're talking significant.
And
What would I
major-
get for that?
You would definitely get a lifespan of at least 20 to 30 years with simple maintenance. It's, you know, because you're building a brand new structure. Like I said,
So
depending
it's
on
the
how
same
you
price, it's the same price as Band-Aid.
Over
30
time.
years, $3 million, it's 100 grand a year.
roughly.
Band-Aids, 100 grand a year.
And again, we haven't done this kind of a study. We really haven't said to somebody, we'd like to do this or do that. I think the process would be I think we're at, as I said, my personal feeling is we are at the crossroads. We are either going to decide that in 3 years we close, and I think where we are right now, that decision needs to be made sooner than later. We're going to move forward and do a feasibility study so we can present some real figures, or the park department and the finance committee on the town is going to decide, you know what, we're going to play out its life expectancy and we get out of the business.
Peter, I guess
That's where I feel I am. That's where I am.
my gut is that, you know, we can nitpick this to death, but we really as a community have to say, do we want to keep Fino Pool?
That's where we
And
are.
it's going to be somewhere around $4 million.
That's what I.
Whether it's 3.1 or 4.4, I don't think it really is germane to
it's the concept.
the concept.
It is the concept. That's
Are
where
we going to
are.
put that much money, just like we said?
Yeah.
I mean, when we got the Armory for $1, everybody knew. I mean, seriously, we thought it would
Yeah.
be 3 million. But when it came down to 6, now we're putting more in. You know, it's a concept to say, do we want to fund that kind of activity?
And it's our job to do our due diligence and get the right engineer to come
Oh,
up with
sure.
the right feasibility study to present an accurate price to the town meeting members.
Well, you know, the minute you come before the FinCom, we're all going to cry poverty, we're dying, you know, there's no money. Because we want to push you to say, okay, if we agree on the concept, then how do you implement the concept
Right.
in the most cost-effective manner?
Right.
Okay. So town has to decide, $4 million, yay or nay. Then we go forward, because if the town says no,
Then we're
done.
we run the pool and
yeah, you dig it up and, well, we'd have to do something. I mean, you got money you'd have to spend anyway. You couldn't leave the
you
pool.
can't leave it.
No, you have to cover it.
No, and
close
I
it,
think Mike Dean.
Cover it.
Fill it
Mike-
in.
Yeah, I was gonna
Mike
say,
Dean
Phil-
said it would cost approximately $250,000
Oh, that's nothing.
to do away with it.
Compared, I was thinking it was $500,000 or more, but, okay, you still have money if we decide
Yeah.
we're out of the business. Because you can't leave that just collecting
Hole in the
water
ground,
and being
yeah.
a mosquito
No,
den.
no.
Okay, so if I go forward with the concept, and we're gonna drop $4 million, I'm gonna get a rectangular pool, a little smaller than, we still have our 3 piers wide?
Actually, you'll have
It's a
1,
4?
2, 5.
5?
You'll still have 4 piers.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have 4 piers, so that gives us a perspective. It's still a big pool then with all 4 piers,
It's going to be a nice pool.
okay? And it comes all the way out to where it is now?
It'll actually come out a little further. In
Because
order
you
to
gotta get rid of the 6 inches.
Well, yes, and the biggest part of the cost of a new pool today is all the current and changing every year are all the current regulations of, which is like,
But how is that different, Peter?
it changes, they've changed a lot in just the last 4 or
Yeah,
5 years.
filtration systems,
Filtration
handicap
systems.
accessibility,
So we're
Accessibility.
grandfathered. We're grandfathered.
Yeah, we,
until you start until you do so
No,
much
but
of
I'm
a
just saying,
project.
today,
Yeah.
we're not incurring that expense because they're saying, you have a filtration system, we're not going to make you replace it.
But, right, but as far as handicap access, you know, as you go along.
when you
yeah.
talk about being grandfathered, one of the most unique things was when they did the pond project, we had the Army Corps of Engineers there several summers, you know, taking measurements off the pool and all of that. And, you know, one summer, I remember the Army Corps of Engineers with a bunch of engineers, and they said, those holes in the wall of the pool, where does that water that's in your pool go? I said, well, it goes through the holes into Milford Pond. So I was hoping at the time they were going to say, oh, you know, you can't do that. So in the construction cost we have to, of the pond, we're going to have to renovate the, you know,
Yeah.
put a gutter system in and all of that. When the report finally came back, it said nothing. It said, you know, it's okay. You can put chlorinated water into the pond, and we still do. I mean, but if you look at the new regulations, it says,
We're
that you,
dumping chlorinated water into a natural pond,
no, Milford Pond.
and they
Charles
said it's
River.
okay.
But they gave us the
Well, I
grandfather.
mean,
We're
obviously, if
grandfathered.
they didn't say no,
We're grandfathered.
that amazes me.
It's one of those kind of things that, you know,
Just
when you
put
talk
all the
about
little tuna fish in there, and
yeah,
Well, the other thing, in addition, it's not just the pool, Al, it's like the filtration system. Right now, that's below grade, it's in a bunker, so that would have to be brought up, that you would use that bunker as the foundation for the new, small filtration, and you filtrate the water
because
differently.
when you say you're going to do a new pool, how would you get rid of that back wall?
Oh, you want to leave that?
If you take that back wall, doesn't
No,
all of
that's-
Milford Pond
that's
come
why
in?
you, that's why you leave
Has
it.
to stay there.
Because that's, I was
Yeah.
sitting there saying, okay, are you going to build a fake wall behind it? And
It defines the wetlands and all of the.
right.
So
you
that's,
build a wall in front of it, actually.
yeah.
It stays.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And that's what I was
So the
saying, Al,
reason why it's
about
gonna come out,
those regulations is, like now, back then, that walkway is about 13 inches wide. Today, deck space has to be a minimum of 4 feet. So
Really?
Right around
that's
the
the
pool.
regulations.
Oh, because of handicap access.
No, you gotta have 4 feet of deck space. So, you know, and one of the things, like I said, one of the things is, would change the level to 5 feet, which most pools today, recreational pools, are 5 feet. Even pools that are used for swim meets now. If you're building a new pool,
Yeah, but we don't care about diving,
you know.
so why do you need
no.
more than 5 feet?
So you don't even build them anymore like that. So, yeah, and like I said, there is an opportunity, if we could get, you know, with the right designs, I think the place would be packed. If you had a splash pad there, you'd be packed. You'd be
So
packed.
we would be talking about a rectangular pool off to the Votolato side, the little splashy area.
Yeah, actually it'd be a nice area, because it's pretty good size. The corner is a pretty big area.
And then over here,
You
something.
could do something different there. You could do concession, you could do tables, you could put grass there and plant trees, because that, once the wall is up,
Well,
you could
actually,
fill.
I kind of like the idea, thinking about it, of just grass or whatever.
Yeah,
Because then if I want to go sunbathing.
You could do
Not
that.
me, because I'd chase away small
yeah, and it would
children.
end, you know.
Scare everybody.
Yeah, the scary part, me taking my
and the
clothes off
deck
in a
space-
bathing suit.
The deck
nah.
space would be, you know, beyond the deck space. You just, so, yeah, it's.
But we'd
and
leave our trees.
Trees would stay,
So we'd leave the area
Yeah.
that you can bring your family down.
yeah. And we would use as much, I mean, basically, we are gonna use the structure of the pool
Yeah,
that's
the
there.
footprint of the pool would be, use as much as you could to capitalize on
You know.
that, and then extend out as you need to.
Yeah. I mean, if you were building a new pool, you'd have to dig out the, whereas we're gonna use what's there, you're gonna fill it
But how
in.
could you dig out? You'd be underwater.
No, I'm saying, that's what I mean about using what's there.
Oh, okay.
So your piping will be laid in the pool, and then you would fill on top of it. And then you pour your new concrete.
And Anthony Consigli looked at this,
Not Anthony, no, I had a couple other engineers from his. look
but
at it.
from his home.
Yeah,
Okay, I feel a lot more comfortable.
We had, one of the fellows that Mike Dean had from Boston, he actually did the pool on the water.
yes. The
It's just-
Rosemary Lake Pool.
If I got to trust somebody, You know, I think of Anthony and his family.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Milford.
They wouldn't be interested in doing the pool.
No, but they're not going to cheap it out or give you bad advice.
No.
You know, they've done so
looked
much for
well,
this town
the
that
Consigli
I
people,
trust them.
The Consigli people originally did the pool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they did.
I just remember when we had issues at St. Mary's,
Yeah.
you know, Anthony sent people over and we got good advice, solid advice.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, I mean, he doesn't need our money.
And we have got, you know, but again, we end up back at the same spot. Like, as you said, you know, are we gonna do it? Or we're not gonna do it?
So it's a concept.
It's a
I mean,
concept.
guys, either you're going to invest, just like the youth center,
Yeah.
just like Stacy, we're going to invest a bucket load of money. Is it insane? Yes. $4 million for a pool? Could have bought Milford when we grew up for $4 million. They would have thrown in Hopedale.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that, come on.
But I think it's the commissioner's job to present it, let the people decide.
Oh, absolutely. And to say if you want to go forward, then it's the commissioner's job to present all the alternatives.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely, that's
That's
their
what we're
job,
doing,
that's
yeah.
not my job.
Yeah.
I just the pool manager, so that's them to.
Would anything else change down there if we go through with this renovation?
Well, the filtration system, Peter.
Filtration will change. I don't know about bathhouses in situations like that. Again, there are so many new rules.
That's part of the feasibility study, because ideally, they like you to enter the pool area
Yeah.
through the bathhouse.
Through the
Oh, so that
bathhouse
people take showers and.
and all of that. And again, those are all rules those are not local rules, those are state rules that you have to meet, you know.
And that's
There's new environmental rules that we have to meet.
Yeah.
And
why
Yeah,
the
be-
feasibility study.
discharge of water,
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how much chlorine you can dump into the Charles
it
River.
won't happen anymore. It would go right to sewage system. That's where you dump it now.
Oh, my ninny will love you.
Public pools. Well, Milford High, we do it all the time, so,
Oof, I want to hear it.
yeah.
I mean, the bathhouses are always going to be the bathhouses. I mean, even the ones at Casey Pool.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the square footage, that now everything for bathhouses, toilets, everything is determined on square footage,
And capacity of the pool.
capacity of the pool.
Now, Casey Pool, you have to walk in through the
You have to.
locker room
Yeah.
or
When they redid it, that's
when
what
they
they
redid
did.
it, right?
Huh?
Yeah. So you just can't walk in through a gate into the pool.
We
Yeah.
used to be able to walk. I haven't been there in a while.
Usually, yeah, the
Yeah.
bathhouses were on the
Right.
right, and the concession was on the
Yeah.
left.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you have to walk.
Now you gotta
through
walk
have to
through the
walk through?
bathhouse to get it,
Bathhouse.
yeah.
Next thing you'll tell me is that they took out my little handprint. There were three of us from the Heights that,
I didn't see any machines up there.
yeah, I was gonna say, we put our little handprints in when
And
they
they
were.
are gradual entry.
Casey Pool is gradual
Yes.
entry?
All the state pools are. In fact, this year,
I gotta go up there and see
the
this.
state pool used to be 8 feet deep. Well, it
They
used
still
to
have
be,
the kiddie pool up on the
no,
top?
gone. Gone. That was in,
Oh, wait a minute. So now you're telling me if you do away with Fino Pool, then there's no place for me to take my grandson?
you could go up there, it's gradual entry.
Oh, it's gradual entry. I was gonna say, because he's only
And
yay
now,
big.
when they originally redid the pool 6 years ago, it was 8 feet deep. Now it is only 5.
Really?
They poured concrete in the
So no
deep.
more diving boards?
Gone.
That's the height of most pools, like Peter says, 5 feet.
Diving boards are pretty much out of every place.
Is that a liability?
It's a
thing?
tremendous liability,
Even
tremendous.
for- Even at
Yeah.
homes too,
Right,
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 residential,
yeah.
yeah.
I gotta find the picture.
I mean, we're at a juncture at the high school. I'm pretty sure that within the next year or so, we will take the diving board out of that pool too.
When we grew up, it had to be in the 70s. We were going in the Casey Pool before it was officially open,
Over the fence?
over the fence. And somebody from the Milford Daily News took a picture and caught 3 of us up on the diving boards. Because I remember getting home and my mother saying, "Were you in the pool? It's not open." And it's like, you can't lie to your mother. So I'm like, yeah. I said, how did you know? She goes, look at the paper. She goes, I know that's you on that diving board.
Yeah, so a pool today, everything is pretty much all the costs that go into a pool, other than deciding how big you're gonna be. Everything else is generated by regulation, almost. Filtration,
now, is there-
handicapped, environmental.
This may be
everything.
blasphemy for me to be asking, but is there anything we should be adding you know, when you think of a pool environment, if we're gonna go spend $4 million, 4 point something, you know, is the same number to me. Is there anything you think we should be adding to the pool?
No.
Just the
'Cause this-
splashy area?
Just
and-
follow the codes with the filtration system, if the locker rooms
No,
have, yeah.
mechanically I understand,
Yeah.
Michael, but I'm saying,
No.
the splashy area sounds like a really
Yeah.
neat thing to
Yeah.
add.
Oh, it's tremendous.
Make a playground.
Not a lot of
area,
money
or
either.
do you
But
make
yeah.
a,
That's
you
what
know,
I'm
a
asking,
picnic
Paulie,
area.
is
Yeah.
So it's-
should
Well,
there be a playground area
In the
off to
corner
the
there,
side
yeah.
or something? And I
We
mean,
talked
yeah,
about, wasn't
We talked
supposed
about that
to
a
do
few
one in
years
the
ago.
back of the Grove some
Yeah.
years ago?
Yeah.
Somebody was gonna raise money?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
yeah, well,
That
that's,
ended up getting moved to the
Town
town
park
park.
or some equipment.
yeah, I was gonna say,
But-
that's
but
somebody
again,
I'd like
But
to
we really
find.
don't
Yeah.
have a real playground in this
A
town.
big one.
No.
That would be a
Well,
good
If
spot.
you go
We
to
do.
Franklin,
We
yeah,
do.
Woodland. behind
Woodland.
Yeah. But again,
Which
Al,
again-
Yeah, which,
with the
you know,
bike trail and all the other
others
stuff,
are
that's a
fast.
perfect spot. That's where.
See,
kind of
again, I
people-
know it's blasphemy for me to say spend money, but,
Yeah.
you know, the idea is, if I'm gonna spending 4 point something, and you saying, hey, look, we're gonna add a really nice playground or something,
And
you know, if you're gonna do it, then.
One shot.
Yeah, it just feels, okay, if I'm gonna make that really a center that I wanna draw people to,
you know, and you mentioned about, you know, should we take and go somewhere else? Well, we really don't have an area that's as unique as that area. Try to find a place in Milford that we would
No,
have
Peter, I
3 or
guess
4 acres of land
what I was
with
thinking
trees
of
and-
is the pool is here, the trees are here.
Yeah,
Or
No.
move the
No, you
pool
wouldn't
to
want it.
Votolato, or, I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
no, right where we are probably would be the cheaper of all methods.
and those are the
Because you're not
questions.
starting from scratch where we are.
And that's what you're gonna have to answer,
Yeah.
because when you come before the FinCom or town meeting, which is the ultimate.
Yeah,
People are gonna wanna know that for $4 million, you best have thought of every
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
And saying, we got all this water permeating in, why not put it over at Votolato and move Votolato in the pool? I'm not saying it's a good idea, because
Yeah.
you may turn around and say, hell, yeah, you just added 300,000 or 400,000 more.
Right.
Well, when we met with the engineer, there's a laundry list, Peter, like 8 pages long
Yeah.
of questions
Yeah.
and rules and regulations, just a checklist. You just keep on working it, and then you find out what you can, what you can't do, where you can put it, how you put it, and what works. And
I mean, the good news is we own it all. You know, all of Fino Field is ours.
that's true. That's
So
true.
if you want to take some land, or, you know, you want to put a playground over here or something over there,
I mean, I think what you would do is, my feeling is you would put in, conceptually, you would put in any desire that you might have, like you do in any project. And then
alternate A, alternate B.
when you go before the people,
the stars
and
and
somebody,
work
you
from
know,
there.
and they say to you, well, you can only spend 5 million or 4 million, then you decide what you're
Right.
taking out. But I agree with you, is, you know, should we look at a playground? Should we look at, like
I'm not sure
Kelly
a
said, I mean,
playground is the right.
I don't know that that is
I don't know
either,
where
but-
else. I mean, Woodland isn't really accessible.
no.
I mean, you know, you don't think of, if it was town park, then you think of it's open. You know, people can go there. If you had a big playground there, that would be kind of cool. But, you know,
Yeah,
Fino,
you can't see it, right? It's
Yeah.
accessible, you can't see it. This, you're gonna see. You have the annex, you have Fino Field, you have Votolato, the bike path.
Yeah. Other than the high
pool.
school, it's probably the most visible among athletic places and, you know, activities that go on.
'Cause you drive by
Like I
it.
said, You
Right.
drive by it, you
You
walk
drive-
by
that's
it,
right.
you know
Yeah.
there's always things
There's
going
plenty
on.
of existing parking down there already, so,
and again, wide open.
yeah.
So, you know, you think about it, and if I want to walk around the bike trail and then go into the picnic area, go have a picnic. And now I got kids, maybe they would like, and I'm not sure if you put it to the right side or if you put it between Votolato and the concession stand still where it was.
Yes. But see, all of those things would possibly, conceptually, all of those things could basically change, depending on what your feasibility study said. You know, if they said the bathhouse needs to be on the Fino Field side of the pool, so, you know, so that you enter through there. So, you know, maybe the building on the other side becomes a storage area, or, you know, but we have a lot of room back down there. A lot of room, and, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do there. I mean, you go
And I
to some
guess that's
places,
what-
you got big sandboxes, you got
But
playgrounds.
again, that's what I'm saying.
You know, there's
You
so many.
Take this opportunity as, park commissioners to say, for the good of Milford, what else should we be considering? You know, if it's a playground, if it's a big sandbox, I don't know.
Well, that's why, again, I go back to the engineer, but he's suggesting a public hearing or two to invite residents,
Sure.
abutters, and just put your wish list out and let's look at it before we start any type of feasibility design and see what
Well,
can
we
be
had talked
incorporated.
about having a forum in general to talk about things like, should Milford consider additional taxes to help the school? This is a perfect topic in my mind. Not a referendum or binding, not just saying, hey, look, guys, we're thinking about what we could do. Come on down to town hall on this night and let us know what your thoughts are. I mean, one way you get the community more involved, right?
It's their money.
It's the best way to do it.
It's the
I was
bottom
going
line.
to say, the second thing is, remember, they're paying for it.
That's
They're
exactly
gonna pay
right.
for it.
They're gonna pay
Yeah,
for it.
that's,
And they'll tell you if they don't like it, and they'll tell you if they like it, right? And that's kind of who you listen to.
There's certain things that, we can talk about, like we talked about 5 years ago wanting a new field. And, you and I were at war for how many years saying, Michael, I need an 11 by 11 field. And you saying, I have a little one. And I'm saying, yeah, but I need big one. And there was never, no matter what we did, and that was before lacrosse, before all the new stuff, but just for my 10-year-olds, 12-year-old soccer kids.
That was before Plains Park, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was no room.
right.
You're trying to protect some of these fields, saying we
Yeah.
have to rest this field.
Just a little bit.
And it's like, logically I understand,
Still
and I agree with you. But I got 12-year-olds
They're
that
all
need
full.
a field.
Well, full.
Yeah.
So we started, God, it must be 4 years ago, because remember you talked about, if I call it the tradesman area, I mean,
Sure.
only old Milford
Yep,
people
that's
will
right.
know, but
Yep.
up on Route
The old-
140.
with the Pine
There was a school back there.
School, what was it, the
Pinewood.
Pinewood School.
But I mean, we talked about, should we look at doing a field there? And you all came back and said, no, that's gonna be $2 million. We'd be better off turfing a field. Given that now you have to work out the logistics, that if the town's gonna pay for it, it can't only go to the school if it's on school property. If the town's gonna pay for it, it can't only go to the town because the kids in the school are Milford residents. So given that I believe the school and the Parks Department would work it out, we decided to turf a new field somewhere.
Yeah, and it's more cost efficient that way because everything's, no trees taken down, you don't have to worry about anything else, just,
So, to me, this kind of thing, if we really think through it, and you say, okay, maybe phase 1 is the pool, with the splashy thing, that's kind of cool for the kids.
Yep.
Phase 2 would be additional whatever. And, maybe we do like we did, this year with a little bit of luck, if town meeting approves putting away the last increment of money, we'll have enough to really get you a turf field. Not the lights and the things that would make it even nicer, but you'll be able to then bring a proposal forward. And again, you're gonna have to start from scratch, even though we've put the money away.
Yeah.
Yep.
You still have,
We did the same thing with the Fino field lights,
yeah, that was it.
right? You put a little bit away every year, and, the town, we were fiscally responsible towards that, and now we have.
And I felt the same way when we did the police computers.
Yeah.
We went in front of town, Fino, we said, we're asking for 35 grand. Understand you're voting for 100 or 130. Because this 35 would be the first increment, but we're gonna keep coming back, because having one light on Fino Field won't really do a lot. So, going for a project like this and saying it's phase 1, phase 2, I'm a lot more comfortable telling town meeting, you're voting for 4.8, because we're gonna take 4 now.
yeah.
And I don't know what the numbers are, but you're gonna take A now, but we're coming back for B right away. Because that way, at least to me, you're being honest with the town meeting, and they know. So a year or so, we put away a little bit, 2 years, put away a little bit, then you come back and say, okay, we, hopefully this year, we'll be able to let you loose to say, go get us turf quotes. I don't think we can afford the lights yet, but you can build up everything but the lights, right?
Yeah, it's just, obviously, it's easy to put them in at the same time, but, yeah.
Yeah, so then you'll
You
come
run
back.
You run the electric, the.
Put
But I'm
everything
saying,
in.
put all the
everything there.
conduits,
Yeah,
put all,
absolutely.
everything but
Yeah.
the final
Sure.
bit, and
Yeah.
then when we get the money for that,
Yeah.
you pop
Pop 'em
them
up.
in.
It's like roughing for AC when you build a house and you don't have the money for it, right? At least it's there.
At least it's there, then you don't have to
Sure.
rip up walls.
That's right.
So, I mean, that makes me feel good, because if you think about it, there's not a lot of towns that tuck money away every year. You know, this year we had our $3 million surplus. And I don't know that we can plan any tighter than 97% efficiency. You know, when people sit there and say, how could you plan on having $3 million surplus? That's 97% accuracy on our budget. That to me sounds pretty good. I'd hate to plan for 99, because one of these years we're not going to have that surplus, and then what do you do? But that leaves us a little bit of money, and hopefully this year we're going to put back at least 1.8, because it's not, as you said, it's not our money. We took
not our
it
money.
out of the Arcudi budget, too much money. Now let's give back half of it right away, tuck half of it away, and then put 25% towards projects. You know, so if you give half back, 25% you tuck away, and another 25% you can fund
Right.
these projects. Then we get to a point where, like Woodland, I'd like to know how many towns can do a $61 million school and not have profanity used, you know, debt exclusion or 2.5.
We have never done 2.5.
No, we don't allow profanity.
That's right.
We have a new finance committee member, and we had to explain to him that profanity, take it out of your mind. Someday, somebody's going to offer us comic relief. They're going to go in front of town meeting for a 2.5 override. You know, and
I don't know about that.
it would be funny to watch. I can't see Milfordians going for that.
You'd have to have a, it'd have
Emergency.
to be something that
Well,
would
Peter,
be.
if a tornado came through
Yeah,
and wiped
that's-
out our schools and
Yeah,
our police.
that's different. But I mean, the way the town operates, it just wouldn't be feasible to even stand up there and ask for it.
No, and again, I always bring out.
And
when
that's
you-
a credit, I mean, and that's a credit to
To the Finance Commission
to
and
the
the way the
Finance
town
But
is
it's
run.
a
and the
credit
people
to the
that run it.
department heads and the employees too,
Absolutely.
because years ago, I'll never forget when towns around us and us were cut our budgets. Towns around us went to their school teachers and staff, and they deferred their raises. And I sat there and said, how does that work? If I can't pay my mortgage today, how am I going to double pay in a year? Well, things will get better. Well, you know they don't. Our teachers gave up their raises to save teachers. How many unions stand up and say, we'll cut what you're giving us if you promise that we get to keep that money to save teachers? That was pretty impressive to me. You know, something I'll never forget. But that's Milford. You know? I mean, think about little Arcudis. I mean, you're in, I looked at my oldest daughter and I said, you're an official Milfordian. She goes, really? I said, you're third generation Milford and you live within 2 miles of your mother. So now you can be.
I don't know if that's written in the bylaws, but that's pretty much a pretty good definition of a
I was going to say,
yeah.
would anybody,
No,
refute it?
I think you're right on there. Yes,
you know?
yes, that's definitely,
Think about it. I mean,
yeah.
I grew up in Milford in the Heights, and when I hit age, first thing I did is run away. I wanted to get out of my little small town. And I loved Washington. I loved living in Paris. But the minute I had my daughter, I wanted to come home. I wanted to come home so I could go to the dumb Milford pool.
Yeah.
You know, so I could go and see all the people I grew up with. There's something special about this town.
I think there is. I agree with you. You know, it's just, it's a great community. And, you know, I think all the people have worked hard to keep it like that. You know, and, you know, like any other community, you're going to come to points where you have to make like the pool, you have to make decisions of how you're going to proceed forward. And that's, again, that's where we are right now. So these gentlemen need to carry the ball because I'm only the pool manager, so I don't have any political clout, you know.
The brains of the operation.
thank
That's
God.
what he is,
Yeah.
no kidding.
I mean, I can do speeches,
go
I can
far.
talk to you about pools and water and everything, but
He was there before water.
Oh, God. No, it's funny when you start thinking back about the pool and everything when we grew up, and you still remember the day you made the pillar. You swam across that deep end, and that deep end had to be 500-600 feet deep, 1,000 feet deep. You know, it had to be because,
yeah, when I first went there, it was sand.
oh, God.
Sand bottom. Couldn't see nothing.
I don't think I remember back that far.
Yeah.
You swam in pond water.
It was basically pond water.
some
They
sort-
actually used to fill it from a well, but it was more of the water came from the pond. I mean, so basically what they did is they built a wall out into a pond, and there was no way to keep the water out. So,
Step up from the quarries,
you know,
right?
actually the quarries would have been a little cleaner.
Yeah, maybe, you're right.
You know?
Yeah, but they had big rocks.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know,
That's
try
true.
and not,
No, it was it's
try and deny that it wasn't a big deal to jump off the
Oh.
tree at the ledge.
rite of
Yeah.
passage.
Right, yeah,
But
that's
then you
right.
sit there and say, my God, today, would you want any of your children
No.
doing something so
That's why we don't have
unintelligent?
diving boards.
Yeah.
You know, you
Boards
think
are out.
about the rocks that were there.
Yeah, you're right.
What could have happened?
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, even
Yeah.
this, you know, we were talking about the state pool with the diving board. I don't know what was more intimidating, the high dive, climbing
Oh,
up
yes.
to get there?
They used to have the
or
3-meter
actually
board.
jumping
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We look forward to getting the community involved, and
you.
we'll find out. The
Okay.
people believe this is part of Milford, and are they willing to invest?
That's where we are. That's where
'Cause
we
at
are.
that point, then we just work out the numbers.
That's right.
As always, there's so many things in Milford that we really love as part of Milford. We're talking about renovating downtown. We did Stacy, we did the youth center, and you got to decide. But I'll tell you one thing, if you haven't gone to the Fino pool, go. You need to experience that and take your children, your grandchildren down there and enjoy a real piece of Milford. As always, to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless, and may tomorrow be a nicer day, and at least for next year, for sure, we'll be swimming in the pool. Good night, all.
Not too long since I've been home.